The cameras were already rolling, but no one expected this moment to become the heartbeat of the night. Under the dazzling lights of the Golden Globes, an event known for prestige, elegance, and carefully curated appearances, Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet shared an intimate exchange that instantly captured global attention. In a room filled with Hollywood's most powerful names, it was this quiet, unscripted interaction that stole the spotlight. Before we go any further, this is the kind of story that invites conversation. Stay with it, react to it, and be part of the discussion surrounding one of the most talked about celebrity moments of the year. It began subtly. As the broadcast cut to the audience between award announcements, the camera lingered just a second longer than usual on a familiar pair seated among the elite guests. Kylie Jenner, poised and polished in a sleek, form-fitting gown, sat beside Timothée Chalamet, whose understated yet distinctive style has become a signature of modern Hollywood. What followed was not dramatic or loud, but it was powerful. A shared smile. A close lean-in. A brief whisper that suggested a private world existing within a very public space. Within minutes, social media reacted. Clips of the moment spread rapidly across platforms, replayed millions of times, slowed down, zoomed in, and analyzed frame by frame. Viewers around the world began asking the same question: what did that moment really mean? Was it a simple gesture of comfort, or a quiet confirmation of a relationship growing stronger under intense public scrutiny? What makes this moment especially compelling is where it happened. The Golden Globes are not just an awards ceremony, they are a global media event where every movement is subject to interpretation. Celebrities know they are being watched, and most interactions are measured and controlled. Yet what viewers saw between Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet felt natural, almost unguarded. That authenticity is precisely what made the moment resonate so deeply. As the broadcast continued, the camera returned to them. This time, the visual felt more intimate. Kylie's hand rested gently against Timothy's arm. He leaned closer, listening intently, his expression softening. The shift in tempo was unmistakable. In an instant, the atmosphere changed. The noise of the room faded into the background, and the focus narrowed to two people sharing something meaningful, however brief. Online, the reaction intensified. Search terms related to Kylie Jenner Golden Globes moment, Timothée Chalamet relationship, and viral celebrity couple surged worldwide. Media outlets pivoted their coverage in real time, moving from red carpet fashion and award predictions to the single interaction. Analysts noted how quickly the narrative shifted, proving once again that personal moments often eclipse professional achievements in the digital age. Halfway through the ceremony, while attention on stage remained high, the conversation online reached a new level. Fans and critics alike debated whether this public display marked a turning point. Some suggested it was a sign that the couple was becoming more comfortable being seen together. Others argued that the lack of overt gestures made the moment more powerful, a reminder that intimacy does not require grand displays. As the night progressed, the intensity eased, but the intrigue remained. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet were seen again, this time relaxed, their body language calm and connected. There was no attempt to command attention. Instead, the absence of performance became the emotional payoff. After hours of speculation and viral clips, the audience was left with a simple image of companionship amid chaos. Media experts quickly weighed in, describing the moment as a masterclass in modern celebrity culture. In an era where every appearance can feel manufactured, authenticity stands out. For Kylie Jenner, a figure often associated with business empires and highly produced public images, this moment revealed a softer, more personal side. For Timothée Chalamet, known for guarding his private life, it offered a rare glimpse behind the curtain. By the time the Golden Globes came to a close, one truth was undeniable. The night would not be remembered solely for its winners or speeches, but for a fleeting interaction that sparked a global conversation. It was a reminder that even at the most glamorous events, the smallest moments can leave the biggest impact. Now, the story continues beyond the ballroom. Was this the beginning of a new chapter for Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, or simply a moment destined to live on as one of the Golden Globes' most memorable viral highlights? The world is watching, the discussion is ongoing, and every new appearance will be viewed through the lens of that single, intimate exchange. The story did not fade when the broadcast ended. Instead, it expanded. As soon as the Golden Globes cameras cut to black, the real aftershock began online, where every second of Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet's interaction was replayed, dissected, and reinterpreted across global media. Entertainment headlines in the United States, Europe, and Asia echoed the same theme: a single intimate moment had quietly redefined the night. In the hours following the ceremony, major outlets shifted their focus. Articles no longer centered solely on award winners or fashion rankings. Instead, they analyzed body language, timing, and context. Experts pointed out how the moment felt unscripted, occurring not on the red carpet but in the audience, where defenses tend to drop. That setting alone made the interaction feel more genuine, more human, and ultimately more powerful. Observers noted that Kylie Jenner appeared unusually relaxed. Known for her carefully controlled public image, she did not attempt to hide behind a neutral expression or disengage from the attention. Instead, she leaned into the moment, both literally and figuratively. Her posture suggested comfort, familiarity, and ease. Timothée Chalamet mirrored that energy, his body language open and attentive, signaling a level of connection that words were not needed to explain. As international fans joined the conversation, cultural commentators began discussing why this moment resonated so deeply. In an era saturated with constant content, audiences have become skilled at detecting what feels staged versus what feels real. The appeal of this interaction lay in its subtlety. There was no dramatic kiss broadcast to the world, no overt declaration. The intimacy was quiet, restrained, and fleeting, which paradoxically made it more compelling. By the next morning, search engines reflected the impact. Queries related to Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet Golden Globes moment surged, outperforming searches for several award winners. This data alone underscored a familiar truth in modern celebrity culture: emotional narratives often travel faster and farther than professional milestones. The public gravitates toward stories that feel personal, especially when they unfold in unexpected spaces. Industry insiders also weighed in on what this could mean moving forward. Some suggested the couple may be signaling a subtle shift in how they handle public appearances together. Others cautioned against overinterpretation, noting that the power of the moment came precisely from its ambiguity. There was no confirmation, no denial, just a shared presence that invited curiosity without providing definitive answers. What further fueled the discussion was the absence of immediate statements. Neither Kylie Jenner nor Timothée Chalamet addressed the moment directly. No social media posts clarified the interaction. No representatives rushed to frame the narrative. This silence allowed speculation to breathe, giving fans and media space to project their own interpretations. In a media landscape driven by instant reactions, restraint became a strategic force. As days passed, the moment continued to ripple outward. Fashion analysts revisited Kylie's Golden Globes look, suggesting that her styling reflected confidence and maturity. Film critics revisited Timothée Chalamet's recent career trajectory, noting how his growing status as a leading man coincides with increased public interest in his personal life. Together, they became a focal point of a broader conversation about fame, visibility, and control. There was also a noticeable shift in tone among fans. While celebrity relationships often provoke polarized reactions, much of the response to this moment leaned toward fascination rather than judgment. Comment sections filled with observations about chemistry, authenticity, and mutual respect. Many viewers remarked that the interaction felt refreshingly understated in a world that often rewards excess. From a media perspective, the moment functioned as a perfect narrative arc. It began quietly, escalated through viral amplification, reached a peak of global attention, and then settled into lingering intrigue. The payoff was not a dramatic reveal, but a sustained sense of curiosity that kept audiences engaged long after the event concluded. This kind of storytelling, driven by real-time observation rather than scripted drama, is increasingly rare and therefore highly valuable. As subsequent public appearances are anticipated, every detail now carries added weight. A glance, a shared laugh, or even physical distance will be analyzed through the lens of that Golden Globes moment. Whether intentional or not, Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet have become central figures in an ongoing narrative shaped as much by audience interpretation as by their own actions. Looking back, it becomes clear why this brief exchange overshadowed so much else. It reminded viewers that behind the glamour, awards, and polished images, celebrities are still navigating relationships under extraordinary pressure. That tension between public expectation and private connection is where the most compelling stories often emerge. The Golden Globes have always been a stage for defining moments, but rarely does one unfold so quietly and yet resonate so loudly. This was not a headline crafted by a press release or a planned reveal. It was a fragment of real life, captured in real time, and amplified by a global audience hungry for authenticity. As the conversation continues, one question remains at the center of it all. Was this simply a moment, or the beginning of a more visible chapter in the relationship between Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet? For now, the answer remains deliberately unclear. And perhaps that uncertainty is the reason the story refuses to fade. What is certain is this: long after the trophies were handed out and the lights dimmed, the memory of that intimate exchange continues to define the night. In a world where attention is fleeting, creating a moment that lingers is rare. On that Golden Globes evening, Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet did exactly that, without saying a word. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep watching closely. Because when a story is built on subtlety rather than spectacle, its next chapter is always the most anticipated. And as the days unfolded, the moment continued to evolve into something larger than anyone initially expected. Television panels, podcasts, and digital magazines dedicated entire segments to revisiting those few seconds at the Golden Globes. Slow-motion replays, expert commentary, and speculative narratives filled the airwaves, each attempting to decode the emotional weight behind the interaction. What stood out was how consistently the coverage returned to one core idea: this was a rare instance where restraint generated more impact than spectacle. Public relations analysts pointed out that in an industry driven by visibility, choosing not to explain can be just as powerful as making a statement. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, both veterans of media scrutiny in very different ways, seem to understand this instinctively. By allowing the moment to exist without clarification, they let the audience complete the story themselves. That participatory dynamic kept the narrative alive, evolving with every new interpretation. Meanwhile, international media framed the story through different cultural lenses. In the United States, the focus leaned towards celebrity culture and relationship dynamics. In Europe, commentary often emphasized Timothée Chalamet's artistic image and how this moment humanized a figure frequently associated with auteur cinema. In Asia, coverage highlighted Kylie Jenner's global influence and how her presence at the Golden Globes underscored the merging of entertainment, fashion, and digital power. The same moment, seen through multiple perspectives, became a truly global story. What further intensified interest was timing. The Golden Globes marked the beginning of a high-profile awards season, a period when public appearances multiply and media attention sharpens. Every upcoming event now carries heightened anticipation. Will they arrive together? Will they keep their distance? Will there be another unguarded moment? Each possibility fuels engagement, turning future ceremonies into potential narrative checkpoints. Sources close to the industry noted that moments like this can subtly reshape public perception. Kylie Jenner, often portrayed through the lens of entrepreneurship and reality television, appeared in a context that emphasized emotional presence rather than brand power. Timothée Chalamet, frequently defined by his roles and artistic choices, was seen in a quietly personal light. Together, they disrupted familiar narratives without actively trying to rewrite them. The absence of drama also played a crucial role. There were no visible attempts to draw attention, no exaggerated gestures designed for cameras. That lack of performance distinguished this interaction from countless others that blur together in the public memory. It felt like an authentic pause in an otherwise meticulously choreographed environment, and audiences responded to that honesty. As weeks passed, the moment remained a reference point. New interviews, unrelated premieres, and red carpet appearances were inevitably linked back to the Golden Globes. Journalists asked carefully worded questions. Fans watched closely for microexpressions and body language. Even silence became meaningful. In this way, the moment transcended its original context, becoming a lens through which all subsequent visibility was interpreted. Cultural critics argued that this phenomenon reflects a broader shift in audience values. Viewers are increasingly drawn to subtle emotional cues rather than overt displays. They seek connection over confirmation, suggestion over declaration. The Golden Globes moment aligned perfectly with this sensibility, offering just enough to spark curiosity without satisfying it completely. In retrospect, it becomes clear that the power of the moment lay not in what happened, but in what did not. There was no announcement, no label, no definitive narrative imposed from above. Instead, there was space for speculation, for projection, for collective storytelling. That openness transformed a brief exchange into a lasting media event. As the awards season continues and public attention inevitably shifts, the Golden Globes will still be remembered for that quiet interaction amid the applause. It will stand as a reminder that in an era of constant noise, the most resonant stories are often the ones told in whispers. Whether this moment marks a turning point or remains a singular highlight, its impact is already undeniable. It captured the imagination of a global audience, redirected media focus, and demonstrated the enduring power of authenticity in a hyper-mediated world. Long after the headlines move on, the image of Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet sharing that brief, intimate exchange will remain embedded in the cultural memory of the Golden Globes. And so, the story continues, not driven by declarations or dramatic reveals, but by anticipation. In the silence that follows, the audience listens more closely than ever. As the narrative continued to circulate, something unusual happened. The moment began to outgrow the celebrity news cycle and entered broader cultural discussion. Media scholars, pop culture critics, and even marketing strategists started referencing the Golden Globes exchange as a case study in modern attention dynamics. A few seconds of genuine interaction had managed to outperform weeks of planned publicity, proving once again that authenticity remains the most valuable currency in the digital era. Behind the scenes, insiders quietly acknowledged what audiences instinctively felt. The interaction did not appear rehearsed. There was no strategic placement, no deliberate camera awareness. In fact, the slight delay before the broadcast cutaway only reinforced the perception that producers themselves had not anticipated its impact. That element of chance became part of the story's power, reminding viewers that even in highly controlled environments, unscripted moments can still break through. The contrast between Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet's public personas further amplified interest. Kylie, shaped by years of reality television and business-driven visibility, is often associated with precision and image control. Timothée, on the other hand, has built a reputation around artistic credibility and selective exposure. Seeing these two worlds intersect so naturally sparked curiosity about how different forms of fame can coexist, and perhaps even complement each other. As think pieces multiplied, one recurring theme emerged: vulnerability. Not vulnerability in the sense of emotional confession, but in allowing a moment to exist without protection. No attempt was made to shield the interaction from cameras, nor was there an effort to turn it into a spectacle. That quiet confidence resonated deeply with audiences who are increasingly skeptical of curated intimacy. The ripple effects extended beyond entertainment media. Fashion houses noted a renewed interest in Kylie Jenner's Golden Globes appearance, not just for the dress itself, but for what it symbolized: elegance without performance. Meanwhile, Timothée Chalamet's presence sparked renewed discussion about masculinity in Hollywood, particularly the appeal of subtlety and emotional openness over traditional bravado. The moment became a visual shorthand for evolving cultural values. As award season momentum carried forward, journalists began framing future events as potential sequels to the Golden Globes narrative. Each red carpet appearance was treated like a new chapter, whether or not Kylie and Timothée appeared together. Their absence from the spotlight at times only intensified interest, reinforcing the idea that scarcity fuels fascination more effectively than constant exposure. The digital footprint of the moment continued to grow. Edits, montages, and commentary videos accumulated millions of views. Algorithms pushed the content repeatedly, responding to sustained engagement rather than fleeting virality. This prolonged visibility transformed the interaction into a reference point, something audiences returned to even as new stories emerged. What made this endurance remarkable was its emotional neutrality. There was no scandal, no controversy, no conflict. The moment survived purely on intrigue and resonance. In an environment where outrage often drives attention, this quiet persistence felt almost radical. It suggested that audiences are not only capable of sustained interest without drama, but actively hungry for it. Gradually, the narrative shifted from speculation to reflection. Writers began asking why such a small gesture mattered so much. The answers pointed back to a collective desire for realism within a landscape dominated by excess. The Golden Globes moment offered a pause, a reminder that connection does not need amplification to be meaningful. From a historical perspective, similar moments have occasionally defined award shows, but few have done so without overt action. This one relied on implication rather than declaration, inviting viewers to slow down and observe. In doing so, it challenged the pace of modern media consumption, encouraging attention rather than distraction. As time passed, the moment settled into a different kind of legacy. It was no longer just about Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, but about what their interaction revealed about the audience watching them. The fascination reflected shifting priorities, evolving tastes, and a growing appreciation for subtle emotional truth. Even now, long after the Golden Globe stage has been cleared and the headlines have moved on, the image remains vivid. Two figures, surrounded by spectacle, choosing presence over performance. That contrast is what ensured the moment would not be forgotten. Whether or not future appearances ever recreate that same intensity is almost irrelevant. The power of the Golden Globes exchange lies in its singularity. It did not need repetition to validate it. It existed fully in its own time, leaving behind a lasting impression without demanding anything further. And that is why the story endures. Not because of what was promised, but because of what was felt. In a world overflowing with noise, that quiet moment spoke louder than anything else that night, and continues to echo long after. As the conversation matured, the moment began to be framed not just as celebrity news, but as a reflection of where global pop culture currently stands. Analysts pointed out that audiences today are no longer satisfied with headlines alone. They want subtext, emotion, and meaning. The Golden Globes interaction between Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet delivered all three without overt explanation, allowing viewers to engage on a deeper psychological level. What followed was a wave of retrospective analysis. Commentators revisited earlier public sightings of the pair, recontextualizing them through the lens of the Golden Globes moment. Interactions that once seemed casual were now interpreted as part of a gradual narrative arc. This retroactive storytelling is a familiar pattern in celebrity culture, but rarely does it feel as cohesive as it did in this case. The Golden Globes moment became the anchor point, the frame through which everything else was understood. Meanwhile, industry insiders emphasized how rare it is for a moment to dominate discourse without being driven by controversy. There were no conflicting reports, no negative allegations, no forced drama. The story thrived on tone alone. Calm. Intimate. Observational. That restraint made it accessible to a broad audience, transcending typical fan demographics and drawing in casual viewers who might otherwise ignore celebrity news. Broadcast professionals also reflected on the role of live television in shaping the moment's impact. In an age dominated by pre-recorded and heavily edited content, live broadcasts retain a unique power. The knowledge that what viewers saw was unfolding in real time added a layer of authenticity that could not be replicated later. The slight imperfections, the unplanned camera linger, the absence of narrative framing, all of it contributed to the sense that the audience was witnessing something genuine. As discussions deepened, the focus subtly shifted from romance to presence. Many observers noted that the interaction did not rely on physical closeness alone. It was defined by attentiveness. By the way both appeared fully engaged with each other despite the surrounding spectacle. In a room filled with applause, movement, and constant stimulation, their stillness stood out. That contrast became one of the most cited reasons the moment resonated so strongly. Sociologists weighed in, suggesting that the fascination stemmed from collective fatigue with performative intimacy. In digital culture, affection is often exaggerated for visibility. The Golden Globes moment offered an alternative, connection without display. This aligned with a growing audience preference for sincerity over scale, for moments that feel lived in rather than broadcast ready. As weeks turned into months, the moment continued to surface in unexpected contexts. It was referenced in discussions about modern fame, cited in think pieces about media consumption, and even used as an example in marketing analyses about emotion.